So as we know, the Philadelphia 76ers have been one of the more disappointing teams of this NBA season, and that statement can be attributed to injuries to their stars Simmons and Embiid, a pretty awkward offense which is a byproduct of lack of shooting, Al Horford not being that good, Brett Brown not being that good, and potentially problems with Simmons and Embiid coexisting on the court. And how can they potentially fix it if they can fix it? But before we start, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe to all of our recent videos. Make sure you follow our Instagram at just.d.facts. And let's get straight into it. So the Sixers are currently 6th in the East right now with a 38-26 record. They're only 2 games from 4th seed, and they're tied for 5th. But as we know, our expectations of Philly was way higher in the beginning of the season than it is right now. I think the main reason for Philly not being where they need to be is because they don't have the right guys around Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. It's that simple. Well, currently the 76ers are 14th in the NBA in three-point percentage, and that's not really that bad. But even around Embiid and Simmons, that needs to be a lot higher for guys that don't really shoot like that. I mean, Embiid is a pretty good shooter. He shot 35% from 3 so far. But, I mean, you don't want Embiid at the 3-point line. I'm pretty sure you would much rather have Embiid in the post where it's most effective. And Embiid can get a little trigger happy sometimes from 3. And that leads to a lot of cold stretches from him and a pretty awkward offense. I mean, take a look back at 2018. I think that was their best supporting cast they've ever had. JJ Redick, Robert Covington, Dario Saric, Ilya Silva, and Bellinelli can all shoot outstanding from the 3. But now Philly has guys like Shake Milton who's shooting 45% from 3, but he hasn't really played too much. But when he has played, he has been very good. Furkan Korkmaz is probably their best shooter on the team and most consistent. Speaking of consistency, Tobias Harris, Mike Scott, and Josh Richardson all are pretty inconsistent from the 3-point line. In fact, Josh Richardson's having his worst 3-point year of his career right now, only shooting about 32%. With that being said, I do not think this limited shooting on the Sixers roster is going to get the job done in any way, shape, or form. I mean, just watching the Sixers sometimes, their offense just gets really awkward and bogged down. Simmons and Embiid both need to paint. Simmons needs to paint to drive. Embiid needs to paint to post up. So do you want Embiid to stand on the 3-point line all day while Simmons drives all day? That wouldn't be very effective, but whenever Joel Embiid wants to post up, he's going to have Simmons standing on the 3-point line. And you know, defenses are just going to completely disregard Ben Simmons on the 3-point line. So they need to figure something out with that roster. Hopefully Philly can bring in some guys that can hit some 3-point shots on a consistent basis. Too bad they let Redick go last year. He was a big key for them. And when Embiid and Simmons do actually have consistent shooters around them, I mean, they actually play pretty well together. So until they get the other guys figured out, Embiid and Simmons, I don't think it's going to work out. Another negative for Philly is that Al Horford has been pretty bad this year. Obviously, they picked him up from the Celtics in free agency. And Horford has had his lowest points per game total since his second season in the league, only averaging 12 points a game. And he's shooting a career worst 44% from the field. So Al Horford really isn't creating any spacing out there or efficiency, so why does he need to be on the court this long? I know his defense is still pretty good, but the Sixers team needs more offense than defense right now. I think they can get the job done defensively without him for the most part, but offensively they'll really need a guy that can stretch the floor. I think one solution could be bringing Al Horford off the bench and bringing in Furkan Korkmaz, who's one of their more consistent shooters. He's 6'7". He's not the greatest defender in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, he can get the job done. He's going to be out there with Simmons. He's going to be out there with Embiid. He's going to be out there with Richardson. So those guys will pretty much cover him up on the defensive end. Shake Milton could also get some more playing time too. He's shooting 45% from 3 in limited time, like I said. But he can also play make, which Philly doesn't really have outside of Simmons, of course. So having a guy that can shoot and create, which the Sixers don't have on their roster, Shake can end up becoming something very valuable for the Sixers rotation. Speaking of valuable players for the rotation, Matisse Thybulle has been a great defensive player this year. I think he has the opportunity to be one of the best defenders in the league one day. And even he's not shooting too bad from 3 at 35%. The rest of his offense is pretty limited, but I mean, when you're out there with Simmons, all you need to do is be able to shoot. So I think Philly can definitely fix their lack of shooting problems from in-house with guys like Shake Milton, Furkan Korkmaz, and Matisse Thybulle, but we'll see what they decide to do there. We will also get to see what Philly decides to do with Brett Brown at the end of the season. I think he should go. But Brett Brown obviously hasn't been really that good at all for the Sixers. I know the roster isn't constructed that well, but with talented guys like Simmons and Embiid, I mean, you should figure something out, right? In 2018, it didn't really seem like Brett Brown knew what he was doing. In 2019, it was pretty much the same as well, bringing on Jimmy Butler. And even Jimmy Butler came out and said, like, What are we doing offensively? I don't even know what's going on over here. I don't even know who's getting the last shot. I don't know how offense is going to be ran. And it seemed like they didn't really know what to do. And all that falls back on, obviously, the head coach, Brett Brown. Another disadvantage for Philly is that all the teams ahead of them have better coaches. Mike Budenholzer, Nick Nurse, Brad Stevens, Spoelstra on the Heat, even Nate McMillan on the Pacers. I'm just not sold on Brett Brown at all. But as for playoff expectations for Philly, I can see them losing in the first round, and I can see them going to the NBA Finals. That just goes to show you how talented they really are compared to how much they're underperforming this season. So Philly's been 29-2 at home and 10-24 on the road, which is absolutely crazy. Just off the bat, I don't think a team can go to the NBA Finals just being that bad on the road. But at least they're playing in Orlando now, where home court doesn't really matter for either side. They aren't doomed to missing out on home court, and the team they're playing against doesn't really have a home court advantage either, so we'll see how they perform there. That's going to be really, really interesting to see what they do. So obviously right now they're the 6th seed, and they play Boston in the first round. I would pick Boston in the series just off the top of my head, but if Embiid has a monster series and goes for like 30 and 13 or something like that, I can definitely see the Sixers winning that series. Who's guarding Embiid? Daniel Tice, I don't think he's guarding Embiid. Definitely not Enes Kanter. Definitely not Robert Williams. So Embiid can have a huge field day against the Celtics. But the thing is he going to be consistent? And like I said earlier, Philly can easily get to 5. And if they get to 5, they'll be playing Miami most likely in the first round. And against the Heat, Bam versus Embiid is going to be a really, really good matchup to see. Will Philly be able to keep up with Miami's shooting, which is pretty much tops in the league with Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Kendrick Nunn, Kelly Olynyk, Myers Leonard, guys like that? And how well can Bam Adebayo guard Embiid? I mean, Bam's pretty big, but he's definitely giving up some size there. I think Embiid can still have a really, really dominant series. Not as dominant as he could potentially have versus the Celtics, but Embiid can definitely still dominate Bam. If Philly played the Raptors, that'd be another great series, as you saw last year.
Is this the dagger?
Sorry, Sixers fans, I had to put that in there again. But the Raptors still do have the Embiid stopper of Marc Gasol. Hopefully Embiid adjusts to the defense they threw at him last year. Last year in the second round, Embiid only averaged 18 points per game on 37% shooting from the field. That is absolutely unacceptable. So hopefully it turns it around. And even if Gasol isn't playing the greatest defense on him, they have guys that can scramble, like I mentioned in my Raptors video. OG Anunoby, Norman Powell, guys like that can kind of bring a soft double team over to Embiid and force guys to shoot. And hopefully guys like Tobias Harris and Josh Richardson can knock down some shots on a consistent basis. But I will still pick the Raptors to win that one. If they play the Bucks, the Sixers do in fact play well against the Bucks. I think it's very possible that the Sixers can give Giannis a hard time in the paint. In the paint, you got Joel Embiid. Hopefully he can stop Giannis from scoring at the basket. And guys like Simmons and Josh Richardson can guard him more on the perimeter, can guard him more in transition. But if the Sixers can do that, and then on the offensive end, Embiid can score 25 to 30 points a night, I can possibly see Philly winning that series. In fact, in that series, it could come down to the role players. It could come down to Tobias Harris and Josh Richardson and Furkan Korkmaz hitting shots against Buster Middleton, who really struggled last year in the conference finals making shots. But I'll still go with the Bucks at this point. What's going to happen to Philly even if they don't make it to conference finals? It's going to be 3 straight years in a row where the expectations are pretty high and they come up short. Where does Philly go on from here? Who knows? But let me know in the comments down below how you feel about Philly. Let me know if Simmons and Embiid can coexist together. Let me know if Brett Brown should stay as the head coach. Like I said, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe on all of our recent videos. Make sure you follow Just the Facts on Instagram at just.the.facts. Make sure you follow our Twitter at justthefacts1. And I'm out. Peace.